Hi, my name is Gimpy Fish, and this is Player's Progress. Episode 2, Problem Solving. Hello, this is Gimpy Fish, welcoming you back to Player's Progress. Last month we discussed motivated versus unmotivated gaming, and if you're watching this video, then you're probably in that motivated group. At the end of episode 1, I mentioned that we would be talking about problem solving this month. How to aim that motivation that we all share in order to improve your game. I've developed a few basic steps that should help you open your mind and give you something to focus on in order to improve. After all, getting better involves a lot more than just browsing around on forums and watching videos. I'm not saying those are a bad resource, but you certainly do have to examine your own gameplay first and foremost. These steps I'll list are admittedly a lot easier if you're able to watch yourself playing, but they're still possible even if this is something you're not capable of doing. Now, without any further delay, here are my 5 steps to problem solving. Step number 1, identify the core problem. Step number 2, analyze the problem. Step number 3, discover possible solutions. Step number 4 is selecting the best solutions. And step number 5 is perfecting the solution. Now that I've listed all the steps, we are going to break down each one of them in order, starting with number 1, identify the core problem. This step is extremely basic. You could also call this step being faced with a challenge. It should be very broad. Things like, I'm not that good at Marvel vs. Capcom, or my defense is lacking, or I lost X match, or I didn't perform well at this tournament. Things like that will do. Pretty much anything that you think is a problem in your gameplay, or could become one. All you need to do here is simply identify what the problem is. Once you've done that, we will move straight to step 2, analyze the problem. Analyzing the problem is one of the most important steps of the entire cycle. Doing this properly will make or break your progress. This step and the next step are 2 of the toughest things for players to do properly, whether they are newer players or veterans. For the sake of example, the basic problem we'll use will be losing a specific match. That's what I'd call the core problem. Step 2 is where you ask the most important question in all of gaming. Why? In this case, why did I lose? This is the point where you really go in depth and analyze each and every individual detail of the said match. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What did my opponent do right? What did he do wrong? When did I get hit and why? When did I get to hit my opponent and why? These answers should be very specific. For example, in this instance, after air dodging my opponent's laggy move, I punished with a moderate knockback dash attack. I followed up to push her off the stage without her second jump. I then predicted her side B recovery, interrupted using Squirtle's water gun, finished the basic edge guard, and edgehogged her tether recovery. Here, after landing a following forward air against his dash dance, I predicted his wake-up air dodge with a forward smash, and thanks to some accidental horrible DI, I get a low percent kill. In this instance, my opponent misses a tech which I use to create a mix-up against Abel's poor anti-air reversal options. From here, I land a cross-up combo and another Goken flip throw. After the stun, I simply finish the rest of his life off for the kill. Alternately note when you got hit and why. Let's be pretty specific here as well. On my 3rd stock, my opponent out-prioritizes my forward tilt with his neutral air, lands a basic combo, and predicts my attempt to suicide claw, shine spiking me to my death. At the start of the match, I charge a focus attack, anticipating a jump. I don't react quickly enough for his dashes, so he lands an easy command grab. I was killed in this instance because I completely misspaced my forward smash, and he punished me accordingly. Being specific in your analysis will also allow you to be less biased about your own play. Most players like to think they're either a lot better than they are or a lot worse than they are. This step should be extremely realistic. It isn't about how good or bad you or your opponent are. It's about what specifically happened within that individual match. This will lead us straight into step number 3, discovering possible solutions. This step is another one of the really difficult ones. Most players initially have a fairly shallow mentality and will find a solution for a problem and call it a day. For example, early on, if you find yourself getting hit by too many dragon punches, you'll think, every time I jump I get hit by a dragon punch, so I just won't jump. This type of thinking is extremely limiting. In this step, I stress players to think of as many possible solutions for each problem as you can. Be as specific as possible. In the match with Abel, I found myself doing neutral jump wake-ups too often to avoid his command throw. I should be sure to mix in backdashes, standard blocking, and reversals so that I don't become as predictable. I find myself using unsafe moves at high percents, so I should work to avoid trying to force a kill and be satisfied landing smaller knockback moves and let the kills happen when they present themselves. I should practice mixing in feints with my fireballs and other specials so that I don't get countered as easily because of my predictable movements. These examples are very general. Try to be as open-minded as possible. The main point here, in my opinion, is to always be searching for more than one solution to each problem. Now that you've found a few solutions for the problem you've chosen, the next step is selecting the best solutions. Note that this doesn't mean pick the best one and ignore the rest. This means selecting the best solution for each individual situation. If you've done the previous step correctly, this should be a very simple concept. As you've found multiple solutions for each problem, it should then be easy to designate which solutions fit which scenario. If your basic problem is losing a match, and one part of your analysis shows that you throw unsafe fireballs, you'll find a couple of situations where you'll employ some of the solutions you came up with. This step is simply an evolution of step number 3. Take those solutions and figure out where they may work best. Again, don't limit yourself to only one option. Once you've done that, we'll move straight into the last step, perfect the solution. This seems pretty self-explanatory, but now that you have solutions for these problems, go out and practice them. Depending on the game, you may be able to practice some of these situations on your own in training mode, but in many cases it's best to play matches and try to recognize when you're in those potentially advantageous or disadvantageous situations. Remember what your plan was. Don't just go to your old throwback strategies, even if the new ones aren't working very well at first. The point here is to learn and grow. It may turn out that some of the solutions you came up with aren't working as well as you'd hoped. Feel free to alter them as you go. Sometimes your solutions will make a ton of sense and will help you out right away. Other times you can see that they can work, but you're not quite able to do them right away. If you can see things that should be working but aren't, don't give up on them. You simply need to practice. That's right, practice. But what does practice mean in the case of gaming? How can you train and practice in order to be prepared for a tournament setting? When you're playing in a casual match, what should you be doing in order to improve? Well, we'll discuss that next time on Player's Progress Episode 3, Playing with Purpose. This is Gimpy Fish. Game on.
Woohoo!